integrate yourself. I'm your host, Allison Pelot, and you can find me at pureenergypdx.com. Today, I am here with a very special guest, a person who is dear to my heart. Her name is Hannah Smith. Hannah is in the world of business and healing. After 10 years working for a leading brand in the corporate world, she turned her whole life inside out and upside down and went on a self discovery mission across the world. Traveling and adventuring by van, motorbike, cycling, and by foot all across the world, she was introduced to the world of healing. Hannah spent 4 years diving deep into her inside world with the support of many teachers and courses to see and release the trauma needed for her to live her most expansive life. Today, Hannah is on a mission to get healing on the daily agenda of the world and to do that by paying people to heal. This is the real work after all, and I highly agree. She knows that her experience in the world of business was for a reason and now is bringing healing into the business world, as well as supporting healers and making sustainable and considerable money with her work, as well as creating products and a community with courage in progress. Hannah, thanks so much for coming on. I'm honored that you're here today. You and I have known each other for some time now, and we've worked together as well. Um, I'm just like so excited for you to tell your story to my audience today and really share the business that you've created along the way. So, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so good to be here. And I listen to that, and I'm like, whoa, it's a lot. I do a lot. And the storm I'm in, it's a beautiful storm. But yeah, it's great to be here. And I'm grateful for you in my life too. And Allison's also been my nutrition coach and a big part of my journey too. And we've got the same coach. So it's really cool to be in this space with you.
Yeah, same here. Same here. I'm so excited that you are here and you get to talk about you today and your journey, your self discovery journey. Um, I would love it if we could start just right off the bat, you sharing your journey and more about yourself as well, Hannah, and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah. I've told my story a fair few times now, and every time it's different. So here goes. um, yeah, it's as many journeys kind of begin, or when people really feel they step into a life of truth, is it started in not such a pretty way. I was, well, seemingly pretty from the outside. I had the big job, which was hugely accelerated, and it was very successful. It was with Nike, and I was in the sales function, and I was really high flying in my career. Married, in property development, so a full life. But yeah, something never felt right, and I was reflecting on this today, and I'm really landing with the word of confidence these days. And yeah, I never felt fully confident in myself, in my successes even that I was achieving, in all these ideas I had but never really following through on them. So what seemed like a really happy life from the outside, looking back, just wasn't fully satisfying. And I went into a really dark place, which was over 4 years ago. And in that place, I went heavily into my sport, which is also a big reason we've worked together, into that kind of addiction and finding kind of meaning. And I found huge fitness and yeah, like incredible fitness with cycling and running, and just on this train of like this self-worth, but very much from the outside again, so linked to results and appearance. And also during that time, I went into infidelity in my marriage. So often not associated with the woman of the partnership, but I did. And so I was just in this vortex of like just not having anything left on the inside. Everything was, how do I look? I was having an affair, and I never thought of myself as someone that would ever do that. Very much would judge people that I heard were doing infidelity, but really because I probably never owned that piece of me that had that urge or need for validation from the outside. So I went into this terrible space, also drinking a lot of alcohol. And yeah, I just was trying to keep up this facade on the outside. And maybe you can imagine, I just was lying to everyone, you know, not only my husband, but anyone. And what happened in that was basically no one could touch me, because if you get close to me, right? I mean, to put lightness on the story, my dog even was like, his eye contact was even too much. You know, it was really, now I can laugh, but at the time, I just had nothing left inside, you know, no, what felt like no pillar of integrity left. And yeah, it was just, I feel my heart rate go up as I talk about it, because it was just fueled with adrenaline, you know. It was an affair which was also very liberating, and I felt great in my body from all my sport, so I could sexually explore. But yet on the same time, I was re-traumatizing myself with the lies. And you know, my husband was a fantastic man, and but we didn't have a connected relationship, definitely not in the physical way. So but yeah, so this was happening, and in the end I just couldn't keep it up. It was just eating away inside of me. And what I did is I shared I shared this with it was actually with a psychologist to start with, but what was the really powerful moment was I shared it with my sister, and completely broke down, and she just loved me anyway, you know. She just held it. And yeah, it was so freeing to share with someone, and something that you've kept inside for so long. And then that kind of set me in motion. So from that I came across stumbling synchronicities across a coach who was just this like wild, expressive woman. And I went and did a day with her, and she just supported me with like just opening up my eyes a bit more to the possibilities out there. And one thing I walked away with, well, two things, big things, was never to stop lying from that day forward, you know, just because this was the big thing that was killing me. And then the second thing was to travel. So she supported me in that courage to ask Nike for 3 months out of the business. And and by that point I'd already left my husband. I'd moved out and really felt that was the right thing to do. I was living with a friend, like the life had started to go upside down. And so then I went into Nike and was like, okay, I'm going to travel, which was not a normal thing to do. And then that's where it all started. I at that point was going hiking in Canada, so nature, and still like I had the physical body that could support these crazy adventures, which was beautiful, but just slept a lot, and nature just was so healing. And then I ended up, what did I do after that? I got on my motorbike and went up to Scandinavia on this huge tour. But the reason I went there was I was drawn by what was called a women's gathering. It's called the Nordic Women's Gathering, and never really done anything like this. The only thing I'd done is with this coach who was just this, like, I'd done some yoga and meditation, but nothing ever, like, I don't know, something about this felt different, but I felt I had to be there. So it was 3 days of 50 women, and it opened me up to healing, like real healing work. And it everything from expressive dance, but through dance you're like crying on the dance floor, or like raging like a lion, and even things like we would do yoni massage in like pairs of women. So that's when you go into like the vulva. And I smile with this, but this is really like serious work, but also you always take it all with a pinch of salt. But so so that was kind of the start. And then from there I went further into Sweden and ended up at a community called Angsbacka, which is, I miss it so much at the moment. It's a incredible place, like a community and personal growth center.
Wow.
And it's just beautiful. And it's also like super hippie, but I love that too. I turned up there on my motorbike to go to a sex festival. So again, just
So I mean, so your business name, you know, is very true true to it. I mean, it's just like courage in progress. Like every step you take is more courageous, it sounds like. So,
Yeah,
oh my goodness,
yeah.
that's incredible, Hannah. And I didn't know some of those things about you that you went through. And
Mm,
gosh, thanks for sharing that. And I can relate to some of what you went through and were feeling, because I know that feeling of hiding yourself so deeply, not wanting some people to see who you are, and kind of putting on a facade of what you think people want to see. And so much that if your dog looks at you deeply, you're like feeling uncomfortable, right? I know that feeling. I know exactly what you're talking about. That's from my perspective and how I
yeah,
experience that. And oh my God, it's so uncomfortable.
mm,
You just feel so uncomfortable in your own skin. And how liberating is it to just start, you know, showing parts of yourself authentically and just letting people have their experience of that? That's just incredible, right?
yeah, yeah. It was, and the one thing I really had to do was also to. I remember hiding my motorbike helmet as I went into this festival, and I wanted to not talk anymore about all the outside stuff. Like, oh wow, you're on a motorbike, or um, yeah, I just wanted to go deeper, and I was ready to be seen beyond the skin. And in these places, if you go to these communities, there are also so many people there that are deeply like present and
Yeah.
in the moment, that you can't get away from it, so it's terribly uncomfortable as well. So being seen, right, so it brings
Yeah.
up everything. It can
Oh,
bring up all
yeah.
the emotional blocks, and yeah, it's really uncomfortable also, and liberating at the same time.
Yes. Oh my God. I couldn't agree more with that.
Yeah.
Wow. And how, and you know, that's a big thing. A lot of people don't really want to face. And so I can imagine that that's very strong in the corporate world as well. You're putting on quite a facade,
Mm,
you know. Eh, I don't even, I'm not really in the corporate world, so I don't know as much as you do, Hannah, but I can imagine that it would be pretty, I mean, people are probably pretty armored up there, you know, as well as like what you're helping them with. So maybe could we like step into talking about that and how, like what you've seen actually experienced personally, and how you're helping people in the corporate setting, you know, take that armor off and be seen more authentically. And I mean, is that even possible in the corporate world, and as far as like, you know, how it's set up and everything also? It's like,
I believe so, and I also have had experiences at Nike, where I feel it was more possible. And actually, when I went into my darkness, I almost had to show up more authentically, because I didn't have the energy to, like, in some ways, in some weird
yeah.
way. So yeah, I have to believe it's possible, or the corporate world as we know it will no longer exist, which is also something I also believe in, right? I believe everything's changing and reshaping, and corporate world it will look different, which is also about the people and how they show up. But yeah, in all the work I've done, that was the start of the journey. And since then I've done weeks and weeks of courses and festivals, and also holding spaces and facilitating myself. And I still catch myself with this armor. I just recently, I'm working with plant medicine at the moment, and someone really called me out on this. In and that's in environments that encourage it, right? So,
Right, right.
and what I really feel about, if we look at it in the corporate world, is you can't think your way to showing yourself. Like, okay, I'm going to be authentic. Like,
That's
right,
true. That's a good
today's the
point.
day. Because
Yeah.
what we've got going on in our bodies and our system is we've got so much that we're not aware of. Like, statistically, about 90% of our behaviors, our reactions, are, depending on how much work you've done on yourself, but they say 90% is subconscious. Like, we don't actually, like, we hold all this, like, imagine a massive backpack on our backs which has like trauma from our lives, like trauma from our family lives, like collective pain the world holds, like
Oh,
things that
yeah.
we should be seen as a woman or not, or like, if you're of race, if you're a person of color, you hold all of that behind. So we all have these behaviors that we're not aware of, and we bring them into our everyday. So in the corporate
Right.
world, if you're, it's it's crazily confronting, and it's like incredible. So in the corporate world, you also, all of that is in our behaviors, and it's in a world that is ran by men, and that's just how it is. Even though many companies are trying their best and many women are doing an amazing job, but even as women, we can also step into behaviors that make us feel, or that we can be accepted, or so you
Yeah.
can constantly change your armor, and it's, so the work I do now, and the work that, starting to do with CEOs, because I really feel that's a great way to start with them, because they're
Yeah.
leading, and that's how we can accelerate change, is to get them into their bodies. Like, this is the
Right.
work.
That is
Yeah,
huge. That is
yeah,
huge.
it's dropping the mind, the beautiful mind, just
Yeah. Right.
yeah.
Yeah. And you're connecting, when you connect into your body, then your breathing changes and you begin to, it's not so much about, I mean, I guess you're not in your mind so much, right? It drops you down into your heart, which I think can be an important skill to have as a CEO. I think that we probably need more of that. Um, Although, I know that there's a lot of logical left brain stuff, but also I think within the corporate world there needs to be a level of innovation and creation. So, with that, you have to get out of the mind and connect with the heart. Otherwise, you never really connect with your creative self or expression. And you don't really, you kind of lose your ability to imagine new possibilities. And so the innovative, aspect goes out the window.
Yeah, absolutely. And even one step further is really where I believe creativity is, or it is housed, is in our sexual area. So this is like
Right.
the birthplace. This is creation. So actually, I have two business partners, and we work in a triangle, three women, and we all kind of hold point for different areas of the body. So one of my partners is very much like clarity of mind, but more
Oh, yeah.
the truth of seeing. One works with the heart, and my specialty with courage is this, the more the grounding and the sexual, like, and not that you can isolate any of them, but this really is like, to have that
Yeah.
connection, that you need all three to really birth the things into the world that are needed, versus
Absolutely. Yeah,
ego and
that you can't do
toxic.
any of the above without the below, right?
Exactly. When we got to feel pleasure, huh? I always
Yeah.
say that I want to live a turned on life, and people think I'm crazy. But if anyone, I mean, you love nature, Allison, when you're stood in nature and you feel alive to every single cell. Like, if that's not a turned on feeling, then, like, it's not
I
about
know.
wanting to, like, I don't know how swearing is on here, so I'm not going to say the F word. But, it's not about, but it's
Yes.
about being so like in the moment, you just want to like
Yeah.
fully be. So it's, yeah, like getting people to just be like fully alive. And in the corporate world also, you can, or just any in any situation, if you don't feel like, if you get triggered with any of your rucksack, right, like
Mhm.
any unprocessed emotions that you carry, either in your lifetime or further back, and you get triggered, you usually will block something because you want to keep yourself safe. So it's like, I'm going to close my heart because I don't like,
Right.
but you're not doing it aware, you're not aware of it, or you're like blocking your sexual energy, or and probably you're
Right.
getting into the mind and it's chatting, and you're like, ah.
Right.
And I know, because I've been there.
Yeah. Oh,
And still
yeah.
am, I do my work every day to try and just be in my body, especially when things feel difficult. Like recently I also hold a lot of the financial responsibilities within my team, and like working through the money and the flow, and I just felt myself getting a bit like, just, and the mind can come in, and then I'm just like, sit, breathe, like, use your tools you've learned. So yeah.
Yeah, because it is how you experience it in the moment. I've got a little prism on my face. So just noticed I've got this crystal up in my window. So if you see rainbows all over, or like little prism rainbows everywhere, that's what that is.
Lovely.
So No, but I think that, yeah, again, it's kind of just being truthful with yourself in the moment. Yes, we can talk ourselves into being really stressed out in that moment and get ourselves into, you know, believing that we're in a very stressful state, or physiologically, we can even get our body physiologically stressed really
Mm.
doing this to ourselves. Or we can just realize it for realize the truth within that situation and ask ourselves, is that really true? Am I really, you know in a fight or flight situation here? Or is this something that will be handled just fine and it'll all work out? And I'm going to figure it out and just breathe, and we'll get through this, or we'll have fun doing it, which is even better.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Pleasure. See, the pleasure comes in.
exactly. It's that blissful state. I've mentioned this before. In my, in spirituality, a lot of times we're all about the suffering, and you have to suffer, but not that
Mm,
there's no work to be done, and not that you don't have to face your shadows and do the shadow work. That's definitely a part of it. But I think we sometimes place so much focus on that, we lose perspective on the blissful part of spirituality and how important that is. And how I think it relates to what you were talking about, Hannah, with being in nature and connecting with your sexuality and your sensuality and the beauty in life. I think that is also part of it as well. Um, but we kind of lose touch with the goodness in life and receiving that when we are always focusing on what's wrong and what we have to
mm.
fix, right?
Yes, I love that. And also, like the shadow work and our shit is can also like how can we have fun with that, and not take it too
Yeah.
seriously
Oh
and
God, yeah. I know, right?
it's and I because I when I lose my humor then things get real heavy.
Yes, totally. I agree with
But
that.
we're also human if we're trying to just be this, we're human, but if we can be as connected to ourselves as possible, especially when we make decisions, then yeah, this is revolutionary. It's really revolutionary because the industrial age was not, if the mind has been so fed and businesses, yeah, it's corporate. The reason I'm so passionate about the corporate world is, I suppose, because I've been there, but also because I believe it's one of the biggest accelerators for change as we go into
Yes.
this new world. It's huge money there. There's huge people who all have hearts and minds and beautiful, fiery, creative sex areas, and amazing people there. And yeah, if we want to create a world that we want to be in, then business is a true accelerator. And that's also, I would love companies, I'm building a company at the moment with my two business partners, which is away from courage and progress, but just to add other stuff in there. This is we have a vision that we're creating a machine that would plug into the benefit system of corporate companies. So
Oh,
then
wow.
all employees would their companies would also, pay them to heal. So this
Wow,
really
that's
is,
amazing. This is incredible. I think it's so needed, so needed. And like you said, it is changing, and we're stepping into a new age. Whether, I mean, I certainly can feel it. I've felt so much change this past year. I mean, the age of Aquarius is no joke. Like it's serious. I mean, there's some serious change going on.
yeah.
We are having to look at ourselves totally differently, in my experience, and the old stuff just isn't going to work anymore.
Mm.
You can try to do that, but it's going to be a lot harder. So why not step into this new way of being and looking at yourself and the world around you? And I think there's nothing better than what you're teaching people, Hannah. I think that's really powerful. And because there's nothing more powerful, as you probably know, than learning more about yourself and how you can help yourself better navigate the world around you by changing your internal
Yeah.
world, by internal, everything from your internal dialogue to you know uh how you want to show up and be seen, and all of
Mm.
that. So
Yeah,
yeah.
and I just really believe it's not something you can choose from your mind. You have to get into your body and do the work, and And that's also fun. It's part of the journey. And once you open Pandora's box, there's no turning back either, you know.
That's so true.
Yeah, you know
Yeah.
what? I heard
Yeah.
it's like once you chip off like a little bit of gold and you've seen what the life's like, once you commit to awakening and consciousness, like sometimes if I'm struggling, I'm like, why? Bring me back to my small life where I
It's like,
but
why did
it's
I do this?
yeah, but
Yeah.
when you feel that like connectedness and conversations like this and feeling like your work is like doing something, you know, and it's
Yeah.
being so connected to yourself that the work you're doing is, you really feel like it's that word dharma, that you're giving something that you're meant to, you know, you've broken the loop of the karma and you're in your dharma, which I believe is actually just being connected and doing your work, but what you're expressing to the outside world feels right. Like you said, you just love what you do and it's thriving. And I'm the same, you know, and sometimes I can't keep up with, like, I'm the visionary within the company and I get so many downloads when I keep clean and clear from doing my work. I've got, you
Right.
know, all this all these different kind of companies, but they all actually, it's all about healing and they all connect. So
Yeah.
it's a universe that I'm proud to be a part of.
That's incredible. I really,
Yeah.
really love that. Oh my gosh. Um, oh my God, what a great thing you're offering. And you're also honoring yourself. You're honoring your own passions and your own heart. It's like connecting with your passions. Like at
Yeah.
this point in my life, I realized I was at this workshop and we were doing this exercise where you probably can understand where what this was all about. Um, like we did this. It sounds weird. It might sound weird to my audience, but we did this thing where we talked to parts of our body and see, what they would want to tell us. And we talked to our pelvic area, and my pelvic area was like, you have to be passionate about whatever you're doing. If you aren't, then you're not going to want to do it. So just forget about it if you don't have passion for it. So at that point, I was like, oh, wow. Like, okay, that's easy. That's an easy decision made right there. I don't have to think about that anymore. If I'm not passionate about it, you know, then I'm just not going to do it. And you know, that just was so wonderful because I was able to connect with part of myself that was really clear about that. And
Yes.
like, we're not messing around anymore. We're gonna do this, and it's gonna be fun.
And the
So
body holds all the wisdom, is the body. Like it's so crazy. And the more you wake up and do your work, you literally hold like generations and ancestral lines of wisdom in your body. Like, have you ever had a moment where you feel words are coming out of your mouth and you're like, whoa, those words came from me, you know, because it's when you're really speaking from your body and you're just delivering, you know, and really unlocking that voice. The mind is
yeah.
a great tool to support, you know, especially when it comes to action. And like, it's not to dismiss it, but it's a supporter rather than a leader. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's learning how to listen to it and, not dismiss it like you said, because I feel like when I've dismissed it in the past,
Mm.
it's really been, um I don't know if struggle's the right word, but I've struggled more with my life in some ways, right?
Ah, yeah, like pushing it away and you're trying to ignore it completely.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, just not putting placing a whole bunch of importance on it, but in the beginning, but then as I got older, I was like, wow, this is actually really important to pay attention to, and probably more so than anything else. Like, it's way more
Mm.
important than anything I'll hear outside of myself, because it's wise
Mm.
and I think that we need more of that. We need more like um help with inner guidance with people, like true inner guidance, like coming from instead of the mind so much. Not that the mind is a bad thing. We need to learn how to use it as a tool, but more so listening to other parts of our body that sends us messages, if that makes sense.
Yeah, to me,
Yeah.
totally. I mean, I've
Yeah.
got a million tools that get me into my body. Just on Friday, I was guiding a group of women. tapping into the kind of more doer energy within. So people call it masculine or truth. And I use the gender in that, and I was embodying them into literally having a male's body, even like with genitals and all. So yes, I can relate, and this is all the work I've done, really.
Wow.
Like unlocking the trauma in my body, like I said, you know, stuff that I hold that it was stopping me stepping into my life fully and being here, like present, you know, like it's crazy to say, but I've been there, and I feel most people are still there, is on autopilot. That feeling when you get in the car and you turn up somewhere and you don't, oh my God, I didn't realize. Like that's mostly how people are also living their life, right? Like,
and then you get triggered and you're like, what just happened, right? it, I think I think that there is a level of anxiety with living like that. In my experience, I think when you can do what you're talking about, begin the work of feeling again, connecting with parts of yourself, it really does. I mean, it creates less anxiety, really. I mean, there's more calm and confidence in self-assurance. I think I see so many people struggling with that right now with the pandemic and everything, and really serious like mental illness and anxiety issues right now. And I can't help but think we haven't really had to spend much time with ourselves until now, you know?
yeah, it's like the forcing us right now into that space of self-reflection, huh? And
Yeah.
it can be a painful place, especially if you don't have the people around you that can support, or you don't know tools. Like it's really, I think, a really lonely place right now for people, you know.
Yes, I think so. And I want to also say that on the other end of that, I do see a lot of people healing from this experience too, and having a very positive experience. But I think that it just depends on how you look at it. You can look at it from, wow, what an opportunity. I get to learn how to spend time with myself.
Yeah.
Or you could be like, oh shit, I got to spend time with myself.
Yeah.
So I guess it's just about the perspective, right?
Yeah. I want to talk about I've got, only because I've got like a beautiful medicine for people, is Courage and Progress, which is,
That would
I
be
talk
great. Yeah.
about like the big universe I'm building around healing, but Courage and Progress is like it was the original mission, which is still, it's kind of just the embodiment of, I've got my light going down, it's really
That's
getting
okay.
dark here. Okay.
It's all right.
But it's really the embodiment of me. And then as I bring more into the machine of the universe, I've really joined forces with two other incredible leaders and healers. But the one that they help me with really is Courage and Progress, which is I really believe courage is confidence. Like it's really the connector. But we built an app, and it's going to house lots of lovely products to support people on their daily healing, which
That's
is
amazing.
the mission. Yeah, and eventually we're looking to build a mechanism in the next month, which really people can start to be paid when they commit to doing it daily. So really, like if you imagine a bit of a gaming meets gambling meets healing. But with the first product we've got in there is you can just go on and you get paired with just another human around the world, and you share with them. It's like so simple, but it's something that I've done a lot in like communities, and it's also quite ancestral. And it's not about sharing like, oh, I had this for breakfast. And it's about it's really dropping into your body, which we were talking about, which is I was listening to your podcast with Mark England, and he really spoke nicely about when you tell a story like which is separate from yourself, like I had this for breakfast, or it's like, oh, I had this for breakfast, and it's like, I feel delicious and nourished, or it's like, oh, I feel like I've eaten too much and it feels uncomfortable, and like feeling that. So it's,
I
but
love that.
it's also, it's also a moment to breathe. And in the way the product works in the app is it's about just under 7 minutes, and you're paired with someone, which can be terrifying also, but it's really to give that reflection for like the deepest way that we heal is with each other and having the mirror. And
Yes.
in the app, it's just a moment. You have 3 minutes to share, and the other person microphone's off, and they don't react to what you're saying. They just literally, as if the screen's frozen, and breathe. And they just, like, if you're listening to someone share, you also, it's not about closing yourself off. You can feel, and but it's not about affecting them. Not trying to validate
Right.
what
You're not
they're
trying to
saying.
fix them or
Mhm.
anything or help
Yeah,
them that way.
exactly. You're
Yeah.
just holding them, but in your emotional body, but holding. And then you switch and you have a moment of sharing, and then you
Yeah.
get, it basically finishes. So the idea we have is you do this every day, and I've done this every day for many days in my journey, and it's just amazing to feel seen and heard, and
Yes.
breathe and check in how you are. Sometimes when I check in, I'm like, how am I?
Yeah. We have to ask ourselves that question sometimes, right? And that's
Yeah, so
totally
this is a
normal.
really, yeah, so it's
Yeah.
a really nice little product that which came
Because
through me, but
that's a
yeah.
great example of like being on autopilot as opposed to really how do you feel today? Like,
Mhm.
I was
And
at the
if we
grocery
don't
store the other
know,
day and and the guy asked me how I was doing. I said, I'm great. And I never used to say that, but I'm really feeling great, and I'm being totally honest. And he's like, "Oh my God, I never hear anybody say that. You're like the first person I've heard say that." And I'm like, "Really?"
oh,
Like, what do they say? He's like, "Oh, usually like fine, it's okay," just kind of like and I
check
was
in the
like,
box. Hmm.
"Yeah."
Hmm.
And I
You
was
know,
like,
when I
"Wow."
first, years ago, when I really had that moment that day with the coach that said no more lies, I literally took it to everything. So I would, if I was in a corner shop and they said, how are you? And I wasn't good, I'd just be like, one of those days. So I would
Yeah.
also just
Yeah,
like, and
that's
I
good
often
to
wasn't
do
good.
too.
But yeah, but
Yeah.
like, actually, how can you be
Yeah.
completely honest and checked in with yourself in every moment? I mean, how many times I've walked through a corridor in the corporate world, and someone's asked how you are, and they've gone before you can answer, right? So it's just like, hey, how you
Yeah.
doing? And it's like,
They
do
don't
you?
really wanna hear it. It doesn't seem
No,
like, right?
and I've definitely been like, so I find myself often not asking people how they are. I will
Yeah.
only ask you how you are if I've really got the capacity to,
Yes.
and that's so confronting. But to be able to say, like, hey, Allison, I would check in how you are, but actually right now I'm pretty full in myself and I haven't quite got the capacity to really be with you. How much more respectful is that, rather than pretending I'm listening to
I
you
like that.
and
I
I've
like
got
that
this
a lot.
chatting. Yeah,
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah, that's a great way to go about it. I love that so much. Yeah, and going back to what you were saying about the support and how amazing that is to have an app where you can have someone you can check in with as well. That's incredible. I'm doing this program called The Artist Way. It's a group.
Mm,
It's based on the book, The Artist Way, and it's incredible. We've been partnered up, and I posted something yesterday on Instagram about my partner did the most amazing thing. We had to go through this exercise where we tell our partner our wish and then they reflect it back to us with support,
mm,
and it sounds really simple, but it's very powerful. It makes you feel so supported and nourished, because
mm,
as my instructor, or not instructor but teacher for this guide, our guide, he as he puts it, the masculine is all about challenges and the feminine's all about praise. And so if we're not praising
mm,
each other, our feminine is like deprived, right? And I can relate so much to that. It's not that it's different than a neediness. It's just something about celebrating for me. Like the praise is really about celebration and just I guess bringing it out into the real world, like your desires, right?
mm,
And so my partner did the most amazing thing. She wrote my wishes each time, like on this chalkboard and these different colors. It was so artful and beautiful. And then on the last day, she put all of them on this chalkboard, like together, all my wishes from the week, because we had to do one per day. And it was just so beautiful, and I posted the picture on Instagram. I was like, this is so incredible
mm,
when we have support, like, you know,
I saw the picture. I saw the picture. Yeah.
yeah,
When you posted it. Yeah, beautiful.
I was
Yeah.
just like, what a gift. What a gift. I mean, it's so
Mm.
simple, but it's just like so impactful at the same time. And um you just feel like you can do anything, sometimes when that somebody shows up for you like that, and it
Mm.
helps you show up for yourself even more. And so yeah, that's the same thing that Hannah, our coach, or the coach that we both see, Hannah Beer, she does that for me too. It's just there's something about support, and I think more now than ever, it's about receiving that support in your life from the people that you can and do that with, who are going to support you best, and we're all doing that for each other as well, and then also giving the people support in your life that want to receive that too. So um we can't do it all by ourselves. And why would you want to? We're here to experience this together. So,
Mm.
yeah, but I love that you're offering the app, and you're disappearing, Hannah. I can't see
I
you anymore.
know. I've got a light. Hang on. A little bit better.
Yeah,
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 but
that's
and it's
better.
just that it's like having, it's having all these spaces you can tap into, having friends around you that are also supportive, but also looking after themselves, right? So it's in that
Yes.
kind of centered, powerful way that they're there for you. It's not about like, I used to feel friendship was more about like having to be a good friend, always answer your phone and
Yeah.
all this, but having
Right.
that, and then maybe having, a few communities. I know myself, as I kind of open up more to living and being here fully, I really have the space also to have all these little spaces I can, having my app Courage and Progress on my phone that I can, do the little bit of sharing when I need it to center myself. I'm in a mandala with a women's group.
Oh, nice.
I'm generally surrounded by people that heal first and think second.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And like yourself, which is just like, yeah, we come together, and it is the time for us all to shine and speak up
Yeah.
and and share the ways we're living, because it's really nice. I like it.
I do
And
too.
I
It's
want to
so
share it with
nice.
people. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
exactly.
nice to know that you can be supported no matter what. Like, I think that's also where the anxiety lies for many people, is when we don't realize that we have support all over the place, you know?
Yeah.
It's there if you want it. You just have to ask,
Exactly. And you
you
know what I
know?
found with having the support around me has also, it mirrors the capability. Like I always feel eventually I am alone, and I'm not.
Yeah.
But it's like being able to hold yourself also, learn, know that people are there for you, but that you can also just, yeah, like hold yourself through this life too, and
Yes, exactly. Yeah, no,
it's a
that's a
blend,
great point. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not just about it's not like a codependent kind of thing. It's more about you're learning how to support yourself as well. Like, they're mirroring you that to you, right? Is that
I
what you're
think
saying?
Hannah Beer called it like interdependent.
Oh, I
Uh,
like that.
but I
Yeah,
really
yeah,
believe
that's right. I've
like,
heard her say that.
yeah, we're going into like a decentralized world where it's almost everything has a network behind it of
Hmm.
people or brands, and in that space where competition is pure, and together we thrive and together we rise, and like
Yeah.
it is so many cliches, and we're fighting for love. It's like so cliched and so hippie, but it's so true. So
Yeah.
you just have to, and it doesn't mean like, and a lot of where my work is and we can all have loads of money and it's beautiful, it's not
Yeah.
about like, but it's just everyone thriving together, and we're all building, and we're all powerful, and we can all hold ourselves, and then you can
Yeah.
also, like, if it's tough, just completely collapse, and there's people around you also to support,
Yeah, there's
so
so much, there's enough for everybody and more. I
yeah,
truly believe that there's an infinite amount of abundance for everybody. We just have to you just have to get the message out. People have to start maybe believing that within themselves, and I think that's the main way that the message will get across. But yeah, for sure, maybe asking for support and in a loving way is maybe the first step, and in getting on that journey.
Yeah.
So you can have that reflection and how to support yourself. Like it is it is, I guess, a role model in some sense. That person is,
Mm.
a role model for you to learn how to do that for yourself. So that's a
Yeah.
really, really magical, special thing for somebody. So yeah. Um, let's see. Haha, did we? I feel like we touched on so much. This was
I know.
so
I just,
incredible.
you're doing your right thing in your life when you could just talk about it all the time,
I
try do
know,
talk
right?
about it a lot. Yeah, it's nice.
Well,
And I
I
have,
think that, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say with your last point, just to round off, like I have like a list and lists of healers and coaches and supports, that have like been these mentor and guides for me and friends. And I'm also going to bring that into resources with Encouraging Progress so people can see, but also build in a mechanism where people that don't get the access to this, can still find that.
Yes. I
So
think
that
that is a fantastic idea.
yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. Okay. So one thing that I don't know if we touched upon or not, you can tell me if we did. Trauma and conditioning. Did we touch upon that point yet, or we probably
We did
did?
a little bit. Yeah, we did a little bit.
Yeah.
I think I talked about the rucksack we carry, and this is, we have all these memories, maybe not having memories, but I can just quickly touch on my story, and it is quite like it's got a bit of a, it, Allison, but it's got a bit of a caveat because it's a little bit tough to hear sometimes, but it's important because it basically shows people how deeply rooted some things are and they're not discovered. So I was going through this healing journey and much work, and I do work called sexual shamanic healing, which is ISTA for anyone that's interested. It's a really powerful container. I did 4 weeks, and in my 3rd week, it was across about a 6-month period, I was in a somatic body work where they're getting you literally into your body, and there's 50 of us in pairs. And I was I'm really in the dark now. I was sorry, I've got this, I'm not
That's
in my own
okay.
home, and it's but yeah, I was launched back into my childhood, and I discovered memories from my childhood that I had no idea was there. And I knew it was real because I was in the space again, in this particular place with a particular person. And yeah, so I found out I had sexual abuse in my childhood, which I had no idea existed. And
Wow.
that
Yeah.
was only at the start of 2020. So really, but after that moment, I had to do a lot more, like, to get this energy out of me. But the blank piece of paper then felt real, like I really had the opportunity of my life to create what I wanted. Because looking back at my history and having had an affair and needing validation from the outside world, and so much that I'm still learning that plays out in my way of relating to others, was because I'd had that experience when I
Yeah.
was 5 and 6 and 7 that basically completely locked me away, like stuff that just shouldn't happen to a child, that
Right.
can lock away your sexual energy, not trust certain energies. And I mean, beyond the words that can describe the way that you can behave in your life when you've had something like that happen to you. And it's a really extreme version. But trauma is also everything from, like, I know, just having a car like really beep at you as you cross the street and you jump out of your skin and something in your body reacts to that. Or
Yeah.
like a breakup. I've gone through so much of my healing work, remembering all my boyfriends from when I was a teenager, and like, yeah, just getting my heart broken, and like, again, shutting my heart up a bit more and putting more armor on it, and feeling I'm not lovable, or all these. And then you
Yeah.
learn ways through that, you learn tactics to be a certain way to be lovable. So all of
Right.
this trauma, it conditions you to be a certain way. And I never thought I had anything like that in my history. I mean,
Yeah.
loving family, grew up like very privileged. I'm very privileged, but if you go into your healing, you can discover, like, yeah, it can feel scary, but it's so liberating to really see the truth. And I've done a lot of work where we embody and we work on mother and father relationships, seeing the truth in them. Like, and as I've done that, I've also get so much closer with my mum and dad too. So,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
like, often your relationship with your mother is a reflection of most of you relating to women, and father, most of you relating to men. So it's it's back to this 90% of our actions and reactions are linked, like we're not aware of, because it's all we build over our life, like all these ways to react to situations, to cope with situations, to feel safe. And often it's not in our favor. It's not the way, what you would actually do if you felt safe and grounded in a situation. You
Right.
may do something different. So if you do your healing work, you free yourself from the chains, and you also free yourself from the judgment of the world, which is a big one, because in
Yes.
this world, especially as women, you are like, we still carry a lot of ways to be, and especially in business, especially in corporate, of ways that we're meant to be seen. You start breaking free of this conditioning, you can, as I started to do my work and I was still at Nike, I would always ask people how they were feeling about these things. I would just bring the feeling, start to just not really care what people think. I'm just going to be more free in my life. But so it's a massive topic. But it's everything. If you're doing your work, like you said, with your artist way, to be seen and held in your wishes, and to feel, maybe that was even tapping into when you haven't felt seen and heard in your wishes, some little things in your past that were just needing to, like, be held,
Putting my wishes aside for something
Mm-hmm.
else is basically what I did a lot of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And that work you're doing can give that piece inside of you, like, recognition, and with that, like, it can let it go, and maybe it gives you more space to step into them, or more courage, or whatever it looks like.
Well, wow. Thank you for sharing that,
Whew.
Hannah.
Sure.
That was amazing. And thank you for coming on today. This was an incredible conversation. It was so nice to connect with you again, as always. Please keep me in the know about the app that's coming out and whatever you have that's new with your
Yes.
business. As well, what is leave please leave my audience with the best way to get in touch with you, or if they
Hmm.
wanted higher courage and progress for their company, that kind of thing. What's the best way for them to do that?
The best way is, go on to Instagram and at Courage in Progress. You'll see a little bit of the story. You'll start to understand the app a bit more and the products, and then you can link through to downloading it and start. So you can just start your daily sharing. If you want to get more directly in contact with me, to have me physically work with you, either through one-on-ones or through your company, or I also do speaking, come to hannahjanesmith.com or Hannah Jane Smith _, but my website's the best one. So that's, but I'll give you all the links, Allison, so you can have
Awesome.
all of them. But I'll
Okay.
find you. If we're meant to be together, I'll find you. But the resources are all there, and I'll share them
Yeah.
with you. But
Wonderful. And if they if they're interested in the app when it comes out, should they just get on your newsletter, or how would they?
it's already launched. So it launched in December,
Oh,
on
okay. I
Christmas
didn't
Day.
realize that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, it's
Wow.
launched. Yeah, so we're on
Very cool.
Android and on Apple, and we are still in very much beta phase. So it's
Okay.
selected times in the day, but we just need to get loads of people on there, because I want to be able to just share 24/7, when I
Okay.
just
Yeah.
feel I need some connection. So yeah, we're just excited to build
I'll
this. And
definitely get on there.
yes,
Yay. Well, thanks again, Hannah. And
thank you so
gosh,
much.
yeah, please this was great. So please keep me posted, and I hopefully will be able to connect again soon.
Yeah, I so look forward. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Hannah.